Hello traders, Serge here, and here is a quick but detailed update on gold. As usual, if you guys like video analysis, let me know in the comments or simply leave a like. So let's get started. As we clearly see, gold has been stuck inside a big range for a while, and since we are currently around the lower bound, that's why we are expecting a bullish movement from here, just like previously, a rejection from the support multiple times. Of course, unless it's broken downward with a big daily or weekly candle below the 1675. In this case, would be inside this big correction movement, just like previously. An impulse correction started, an impulse and the correction would start. In this case, we'll be expecting a rejection or the support area around this 1400 to 1500. But for now, let's take it step by step. We are retesting a strong support zone. That's why we'll be looking for bar setups. If you zoom into daily time frame, I can't really add much except that we have been bearish, making low lows and lower highs. So for the boost to take over from a long-term perspective, we need to see a break above this last major high. Especially if we zoom into H4 time frame, we can see it even cleaner. We are currently trading below this orange trend line. So for the boost to take over from a long-term perspective and expect a big long-term bullish movement, we need to see this movement and then a break above the 1750 zone. For now, let's take it step by step and zoom into lower time frames because we are currently trading inside this rising broadening wedge, and we are currently also around the lower bound and the 1700, knowing that gold can still dive inside the zone before trading higher or even break it downward. But since we're around the 1700 support zone and lower trend line, we'll be looking for the bulls to take over to expect this movement upward. If you zoom into H1 time frame, we can see it even better that we are currently bearish after this big movement downward. We are respecting this rising broadening wedge up and down, and we are currently around the lower band. So as mentioned, we'll be waiting for the bulls to take over by breaking above this zone. In this case, we'll be expecting a bullish movement till this supply zone or even higher till this trend line. Of course, meanwhile, until the bulls take over by breaking above this area, gold can still break it downward. In this case, we'll be expecting gold to dive inside the support, where we will also be looking for buy stops unless, again and again, it's broken from daily and weekly time frame. Before we continue, I want to tell you about Tickmill. Tickmill is established in 2014 and is one of the leading Forex and CFD brokers with registered users from more than 200 different countries. Tickmill is a no-dealing desk and ECN broker regulated in many countries like the UK, Cyprus, and recently in South Africa. With Tickmill, you can trade a wide range of instruments, starting from Forex to indices, commodities, and even crypto. Most importantly, with very low spreads and trading fees. If you don't have an account yet, make sure to create one using my referral link in the description below to benefit from 5% discounts on your trading fees. And let's continue. As we clearly see, USDJPY has been overall bullish for a while, trading inside this rising brown channel. However, we are currently approaching a very strong rejection area. As you clearly see from my last picture analysis, that this 144 to 147 is a massive rejection zone because it's the intersection of a supply zone that's still fresh, price hasn't filled yet, and also the upper brown trend line acting as a non-horizontal resistance, or what I consider an overbought area. That's why we'll be looking for sell setups on lower time frames, of course, unless it's broken upward like this with a massive big bullish candle from monthly and weekly. In this case, we'll be expecting further movement upward. But for now, let's take it step by step around the upper bound, around the rejection area. So let's zoom into lower time frames and look for sell setups. Moreover, if we zoom into daily time frame, we are lately trading inside this rising broadening wedge, also approaching the upper band of it, the overbought area in my opinion. Of course, we can still trade higher before trading lower inside the resistance to reach the upper brown trend line and the upper band around 147. That's why we don't sell blindly. No matter how strong a resistance is, price can still dive inside it before trading lower or even break it upward, as mentioned from monthly. So that's why we'll be waiting for the bears to take over before we sell. If you zoom into H4 time frame, we can see that we've got also a rising broadening wedge. So we've got three like channels or rising broadening wedges. That's how things become clear as you zoom into lower time frames. That's why it's very important to start from the higher time frames to know where you are, and then you zoom in and you know what to look for. So for the bears to take over, since we're around the resistance, this would be our last major low, which we can also see from daily time frame, right? But it looks even better from H1 if you want. So we've got this rising broadening wedge waiting for the bears to take over by breaking below the previous major low, which we also saw from H4. And of course, when the sell is activated by after, of course, a break below this low, the stop loss would be above the previous swing high, and we target a 1 to 2 reward ratio to have an edge over the market from a risk management perspective, and it would be around the lower bound of what, of this rising broadening wedge from daily time frame, also a demand zone around 136.5. So that's basically it for USDJPY. I'm waiting for the bears to take over. Meanwhile, and until the sell is activated, USDJPY can sit trade higher, form a new swing low, and then break it downward, or even like form any other reverse setup. In this case, I'll be updating my last swing low, or as we trade higher here, I'll be zooming into lower time frames like M30, and I'll be looking for this short-term sell, just like we did here. So that's it for USDJPY. Best of luck, and I'll see you on the next one.